Coming up on Authentic Ag, we talk marketing with Arden Suderman. We talk about that USDA report that has had a lot of folks talking, as well as have a frank discussion about the future of the wheat market. We'll also have reports from the Kansas Soybean Commission, Kansas Department of Agriculture, and our weekly updates from the Kansas Livestock Association, and a market look from Paragon Ag Advisors. I'm Ken Rahjes. This is Authentic Ag. Brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leading in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online, kswheat.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future of Kansas corn. Online, kscorn.com.
I'm Derek Sawyer, and I'm a fourth-generation Kansas farmer. I've known all my life I wanted to farm this land near McPherson, which was my grandfather's before me.
I'm Katie Sawyer, a journalist who never dreamed I'd live my life on the farm until I met Derek.
We've married our worlds to help educate consumers about the rural lifestyle and all that farmers do to provide safe and affordable food.
Watch our story and the stories of other young Kansas food producers at kansaslivingmagazine.com/meetafarmer.
And agricultural news from agview.net. Based on August 1st condition, the Kansas 2019 corn production forecast 810 million bushels. That's 26% above last year's production, coming from the National Ag Statistics Service at USDA. The area to be harvested for grain, 6 million acres. That's up 20% from a year ago. The Kansas yield forecast 135 bushels per acre, up 6 bushels from last year. Now, sorghum for grain production in Kansas forecast 194 million bushels, down 17% from last year. The area of harvest, 2.45 million acres, down 8% from 2018, and the yield is forecast at 79 bushels per acre, down 9 bushels from last year. What about those soybeans? Well, Kansas soybean production forecast 191 million bushels, down 7% from a year ago. The area of harvest, 4.55 million acres, that's 3% below 2018. The yield forecast, 42 bushels per acre, down 1.5 bushels from last year. While the winter wheat production forecast 350 million bushels, that's up 26% from last year's crop. The area for grain comes in 6.6 million acres, still down 10% from last year. Yield forecast 53 bushels per acre. That's 15 bushels better than last year. Cotton production forecast 337,000 bales, down 1% from last year, but there is a record acreage for harvest, 170,000 acres, up some 18,000 acres from 2018. The yield forecast 952 pounds per acre, down 125 pounds from last year. And alfalfa hay production, 1.96 million tons forecasted. It'll be 8% below last year. The expected yield, 3.5 tons an acre. It's unchanged from last year. Now, all the other hay that we put up comes to 3.23 million tons. That's up 23% from a year ago. And the expected yield, 1.9 tons per acre, up about 0.5 ton from last year. And USDA says it will defer accrual of interest for all producers in their spring 29 crop year insurance premium. USDA says the move will help farmers that were impacted by the extreme weather earlier this year. USDA will defer the accrual of interest on spring 2019 crop year insurance premiums to the earlier of the applicable termination date, or 2 months, until November 30th for all policies, with a premium billing date of August 15th. So if any premium that's not paid by one of those new deadlines, though, interest will accrue consistent with the term of the policy. Now, one of the largest operating costs for producers is the crop insurance premiums paid to their approved insurance provider. And many spring crop insurance premiums, as we all know, due before October the 1st. So without the interest deferral policies with that August 15th premium billing date, would have interest attached starting October 1st if the premiums were not been paid by September 30th. But now, policies that do not have the premium paid by November 30th will have interest attached on December 1st, calculated from the date of the premium billing notice. So any questions, contact your insurance agent. And if you thought the last couple of weeks were hotter than normal, well, you were right. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration reports the period January through July produced a global temperature that was 1.71 degrees Fahrenheit above the 20th century average of 56.9 degrees. That's tying with 2017 for the second hottest year to date on record. Now, July of this year recorded as the hottest month ever on record, followed by June of this year. Find more ag news online at agview.net. Stay with us. We have more coming up.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about umbrella coverage. Did you know that if your cattle get out, you could be held liable for that? Call me. Let's have a discussion. 316-945-6733.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agamandkansas.com.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about umbrella coverage. Did you know that if your cattle get out, you could be held liable for that? Call me. Let's have a discussion. 316-945-6733.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Well, our special guest this week, Arlan Suderman with INTL FC Stone, and he was recently at Wheat and Sorghum U, it's outside of Wichita, and a chance to get back home almost, Arlan.
Yeah, it really is. Grew up in these stomping grounds, spent a lot of time in my career here before moving on to INTL FC Stone.
All right, so let's get it. You talked with a bunch of farmers, and it just happened to be the same week as the report that everybody was kind of picking their jaw up on, and I guess give us the 3,000-foot picture. This was a report very much anticipated, but our focus now is on the September report.
Yeah, first of all, I said before the report came out, don't pay attention to the yield. Methodology in September is going to be totally different on the yield anyway. The crops weren't near mature enough to really determine yield. So, we even did our own survey of yield and everything, but my confidence is low in any determination of yield. So just set that aside and chill out. Don't worry about that. So then it comes down to acreage. And we have a lot better data now than what we had June 28th. We may or may not agree with it. But I've been married long enough to know that I was wrong, type of thing, So the data is what it is. It's what the market's going to trade. I think that we'll probably see as we get more certification acres coming in, more overall survey data coming in, we'll see some tweaking of the planted acres. Harvested acreage, I think, will end up coming down. Not near as much as it did in 93, but I think we've got enough parallels and similarities that we will see some drop in harvested acreage. But I think yield will end up being the story before we're all done.
Are we playing too much into everybody says we're going to have an early freeze?
Well, right now there are forecasters calling for an early freeze. Majority are still leaning toward a warm September, which doesn't prevent a cold front from coming through, but makes the odds much lower. It's coincidentally 93, we had similar maturity crops and we had a 2 to 3 week early freeze over most parts of the northern half of the Midwest. That doesn't determine we do it this year, but a normal freeze will be a problem. And I think what we're looking at is most of the corn will end up catching up and hitting black layer, but at a much higher moisture, and dry down's going to be a problem. Reminds me a lot of 2009, where a lot of wet corn, some low test weight corn went into the bin, and then we had a big bullish surprise in the stocks report the following spring. Lo and behold, fewer bushels came out than went in.
Well, I think that and just the carryover we have right now, getting closer to harvest, is also one that maybe raises a little concern, does it?
It's interesting. In 1993 is when we entered that harvest, and the market didn't really know what the size of the crop was till October, and that's when it took off. But the carryover from the previous year was above 90 days supply. This year, I think it's like 56 days supply. So relative to usage, our carryover is smaller than it was in 93.
Okay. Arden Suderman with INTL FC Stone is joining us. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about umbrella coverage. Did you know that if you're held liable in any type of accident, the judgment can claim your assets? Please give me a call so we can discuss. 316-945-6733.
Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News, a reliable and relevant source, agview.net. And joining us is Arlan Suderman with INTL FC Stone. And Arlan, we talked about the report. It's kind of played itself out, but it's still numbers we have to work with right now. Let's look at maybe some of the bigger pictures, the things we seemingly talk about every day. And probably the biggest one is China. And every day it seems like it's a different story.
It really is, and I think the market is just almost, while it's the stock market is reacting to the headlines, the commodity markets, it's mostly negative. And that's really been the case since May 24th of 2018. As I have a chart that I show in my presentations that show that the major commodity indices, and especially those more heavily weighted to the ags, have really been trending down since then, because the funds have made a lot of money shorting the ag commodities. And unfortunately, ag has taken the brunt, because the thinking is the China trade war is going to slow down the global economy, therefore less demand for commodities. And with our economy actually doing better than much of the rest of the world, our dollar is stronger, making it even harder for us. And so they've been shorting it. And when we get the headlines like the unprecedented planting problems, we'll rally, but as soon as the headlines are done, they short it again, and we're still in that mode.
Right. Let's talk about wheat. It seems like anymore we focus so much on corn and soybeans. We're seeing more of those acres in Kansas, but you're here at the High Plains Journal Wheat U. Where do you see the future of wheat going?
Well, the wheat market is trying to disincentivize planting of wheat, and so that is saying lower wheat acres this fall. Countering that is the ongoing trade war with China, which I do see carrying on. I think China does want to try to outweigh President Trump. Their numbers, internal numbers, seem to show him losing the next election. And so they would like to hold on. So that means perhaps a third-year market facilitation program payments, which means planting a crop. So if we get some more rains in the High Plains, we may have some fallow acres go back into wheat instead of fallow. What would have gone fallow go into wheat. We may not see that decline if they have the moisture to bring the wheat crop up, just so they can qualify for the payments. That'll be one of the interesting things to watch over the next 30 days.
Well, as we see, and we'll see what kind of crop we get in, is because of where we are with wheat here in the U.S., will we ever get to that point where all of a sudden we grow, white wheat comes back in larger numbers, or we start growing maybe more specific varieties for a specific market?
Well, as you lose the bulk wheat market in the world, then the market starts moving you toward a specialty. And I was on the farm here, and this not far from here, when Boris Yeltsin visited back in the early 90s, and he said, "We will one day overtake you in wheat production, and they've done that with the bulk wheat production. White wheat stocks are tight. There's good demand for white wheat, and the market's trying to incentivize that. And I think it starts to take us that way.
So I guess with all the uncertainty, what do you think that the rest of this year will we have a better idea? I guess the bottom line is, will we see a rally when the combines roll?
As hard as we sold this thing off, that also improves your odds. I still believe that the yields are lower in the corn, and that should help support wheat and has a big impact on how much wheat ends up getting fed.
Okay, very good. Arden Suderman with INTL FC Stone has joined us. Stay with us. We'll have more coming up.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well on their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we're glad to answer it and work with you.
I'm Scott Thellman, and this is Juniper Hill Farms. Even though my parents weren't farmers, they bought this beautiful farm north of Lawrence in 1999. In 2010, I started growing vegetables on this land. Today, Juniper Hill Farms sells produce to wholesalers, grocers, and restaurants, and is focused on growing high-quality food that everyone can afford. Watch my story and the stories of other young Kansas food producers at kansaslivingmagazine.com/meetafarmer.
Today's farmers use modern agricultural tools and effective conservation practices to enhance their enterprise's overall sustainability. The Conservation Legacy Awards recognize farm management practices that are both environmentally friendly and profitable. All U.S. soybean farmers are eligible for the Conservation Legacy Awards. Entries are judged on soil, water, input, and environmental management, conservation, and sustainability. One farm from each region, Midwest, Upper Midwest, Northeast, and South, will be recognized at Commodity Classic 2020 in San Antonio, Texas. One of those will be named the national winner. Each regional winner will receive an expense-paid trip for two to Commodity Classic, recognition at the American Soybean Association's awards banquet there, a feature story in an industry publication, and a video featuring the farm's conservation practices. In addition, the national winner potentially could join other farmer leaders overseas to visit U.S. soy customers. ASA, the United Soybean Board, Bayer, Valent USA, and BASF are sponsoring the awards. More information is available at soygrowers.com/conservation-legacy on the web. ASA is accepting applications for the 2020 Conservation Legacy Awards through September 13. What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers, farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
The Kansas State Fair is just around the corner, and it's one of the best parts of the year for the Kansas Department of Agriculture, as many of our staff will assist in a variety of areas ranging from animal health and food safety to agriculture education and advocacy. Our trademark program, From the Land of Kansas, will have a booth at the Pride of Kansas building all week, which will feature member companies offering tasting opportunities and selling their products. From the Land of Kansas will also be sharing information at the Explore Kansas Festival, taking place the first weekend of the fair. KDA will be represented at the AgriLand booth, also in the Pride of Kansas building, where children can enjoy a hands-on experience learning how Kansas crops and livestock provide us with food and other items we use every day. On the first Saturday of the fair, KDA will be hosting the Kansas Grape Stomp event at 3 o'clock. This event is a great opportunity to learn more about the grape and wine industry in Kansas and see who will be crowned the Kansas Grape Stomp Champion of 2019. The Division of Animal Health oversees biosecurity services for the thousands of livestock exhibitors bringing animals to show and competition. You'll see us in the barns throughout the fair as we help ensure the safety of all animals and exhibitions. And our food safety and lodging program personnel will be present to inspect the food vendors and to provide education and assistance, ensuring that food preparation areas are clean, food is prepared and stored safely, and that workers are following proper food handling guidelines. The Kansas Department of Agriculture encourages all Kansans to head to the fair to enjoy all of the exhibits, entertainment, competitions, and educational displays. The Kansas State Fair is a wonderful showcase of Kansas agriculture, industry, and culture, as well as an educational and entertaining experience that is the pride of all Kansans. To find out more, go to kansasstatefair.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. Frank Lyons from Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center here in Manhattan, Kansas. Daryl was one of our patients that we did about 7 months ago.
I dug trees by hand for years and years and years. In the process, I wore out my rotator cuff. But when I learned about this process, I thought if there's a way to get rid of this pain, then I want to do it. So we did it and it worked. I'm not going to go out and take trees with a shovel anymore, but I can do the things that I want to do now.
Well, it's been very gratifying to help people with their painful joints and other entities, and it's been especially gratifying to be able to help people who I know and have worked with and known for many years.
Kansas commercial cow-calf producers will have an opportunity to exhibit cattle in pasture conditions September the 11th at the Kansas State Fair in Hutchinson. New for 2019, a youth division has been added. Eligible exhibitors for the youth division must be under 19 as of January 1st of 2019. No fitting is allowed for the Super Cow-Calf Show, with entries consisting of one cow and her natural calf. No bull calves are allowed. The age of the cow and birth date of the calf must be known and provided by the exhibitor. Cows will be judged on type, structure, muscling, natural fleshing, and soundness of udder, eyes, feet, and legs. The calf at side will be evaluated on the same criteria. Cow weight and the calf's projected 205-day adjusted weight will be given to the judges. 2 judges will independently score each cow and calf. The total score of both judges will be used to rank pairs in the respective divisions. Prize money payout is dependent upon the number of entries, with 80% of the entry fees paid back in each class. Prizes will be provided by ABS, Reno County Farm Bureau, and Valley Vet Supply. The entry fee is $25 per pair. Pre-entries are due to the Kansas State Fair by September 1st and must be submitted online. Late entries are accepted the day of the show with an additional fee.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
ValleyVet.com, ValleyVet.com, Valley Vet Supply.
Imagine turning soybean oil, used cooking oils, and waste animal fats into fuel so amazing it drives U.S. jobs and our economy forward. Learn more about biodiesel at americasadvancedbiofuel.com.
Good morning. I'm Derek Hermish with Paragon Ag. How will you remember 2019? Since my birth in 1981, there are only 2 years where the weather is the overwhelming memory of that year being the reason I remember it. Those years, 1993 and 2012. Now, most farmers could probably list off a few more years of weather recognition. When your livelihood is tied to the weather, it tends to leave more of a mark. I've seen that for myself since being in this profession for the last 8 years. I could tell you what the weather has been like for the most part in the last 8 growing seasons, but I would be much more accurate in describing to you exactly how the grain markets performed in those same years. Like the weather years of 1993 and 2012, the items I remember from the last 8 years are the times that were the most dramatic in the markets. And when I say dramatic, I really mean awful. Sure, we remember the good times, but we tend to have vivid recollections of the bad. Anytime the market moves up, whatever you've sold was too much, and when the market moves down, you've never sold enough. I'm not alone with these memories turned scars, and the wise ones learn from their mistakes, while also realizing that you can't control everything. The final chapter of 2019 has not been written yet, and how you remember it will not only be determined by the weather, but also by the marketing decisions you make. The current story is in shades of gray, nothing in black and white. If you think you know how the story ends, be careful you don't end up with a scar for a memory when the ink dries. I'm Derek Hermish. Have a good day.
Well, thank you for joining us for Authentic Ag. If you have questions or comments, email me, kenrahjes@gmail.com. We look forward to seeing you next time on Authentic Ag.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Earlier in my life, I rode bucking horses and rodeos, and my shoulders took such a beating, and that was probably the reason for having several previous surgeries on both shoulders. About a year ago, I decided that I didn't want to have another surgery. And so I contacted Kansas Regenerative Medicine, took their treatment process. It was relatively pain-free. Now, after 8 months, my shoulders have healed to the point where I think I'm probably 90 to 95% of normal. It takes a couple of months to start to see results and feel real progress. That continued to increase gradually until now at approximately 8 months. And I'm extremely pleased. I've got full range of motion. I can lift weights, I can throw, I can do a lot of things that I couldn't do without a lot of pain previously. So I'm tickled to death with the results, and I'd recommend this process to anyone.